Police and many others are defending the shooting. Some say this is a clear case of excessive force and the officers should not have opened fire on the driver. I want to bring in now Mark Lamont Hill, Professor at Columbia University and host of HuffPost Live, CNN legal analyst and defense attorney Danny Cevallos, and Ben Ferguson, who's a CNN political commentator and host of the Ben Ferguson Show. Ben Ferguson, let me go to you, because I kind of know where you're going to come from here. But has anything you've heard so far in the show given you any cause to pause about your absolute certainty that the police did everything completely correctly here?
Well, you can always look at the tape afterwards and say, is there things we can learn from this? But you're dealing with a woman that was at the White House, clipped an officer, and then goes off. We don't know if this is a distraction for a terrorist attack. We don't know if she has a bomb in her car. We don't know if she's trying to distract from another attack. And we know that this is in the most sensitive area around government with a lot of tourists and a lot of people walking around. And if she would have been someone that had a bomb in her car, then people would have said they didn't take her out soon enough. They gave her an opportunity to give up in front of the Capitol by that fountain. She decided to then continue to run and use her car as a weapon. I don't think they had any other choice, because you've got to assume by the White House, by the Capitol, in this situation, that this could be a much bigger threat than it ended up being.
Let me play a clip from Marco Mera. He was, of course, in the Trayvon Martin case as one of the attorneys there. Let's hear what he had to say about this thing. Quite interesting.
Had the police officers shot at her as they did when she first left the White House area and shot and killed her, it would have been a justified shooting. And if it had happened during the chase, I think it also would have been a justified shooting. When that car stopped and the woman got out, at that precise moment, if the police did not see an imminent threat to themselves, if she did not turn on them, look like she was going for a gun, something to at that point say the threat is ongoing and it is immediate and imminent, then maybe the police should have taken a breath.
You see, Danny Cevallos, I think it's a very interesting breakdown there by Marco Mera. He's a very smart guy. I've always been impressed by him. And there he takes us through the various places where he believes, as a lawyer, it would have been justified to shoot her. He doesn't conclude that in the end they made the right decision at the end. Do you go along with that?
Well, does give you something to think about. Mark is an expert on lethal force, as we all know from the Zimmerman case, but he brings up a good point. The Supreme Court has said that deadly force is not a per se grant anytime a potential felon flees. There has to be some reasonable belief of actual physical harm, probable cause, in fact. So the thing that concerns me is, obviously, once flight is over, is someone still a fleeing felon, and is deadly force still authorized? You know, you hear a lot of discussion about could have been a bomb, could have been a bomb. That's not the way we cannot approach all of law enforcement with the idea that everybody could have a bomb.
Okay.
Now, I will say this: courts have held that they will not look at the, they will look at the facts available to the officers at the time of, and they won't engage in Monday morning quarterbacking, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, Ben, quickly before I get him out, Ben.
You got to look at where this happened, though. This is not. Hold on one second. This is not some random place in America. This is the Washington, D.C. area where probably the most incredibly well-trained individuals are, with threats towards the president, towards the Capitol Hill.
Okay, let me take that very point. Let me take that point. No, you made that point. Let me take that point to Mark Lamont Hill. I mean, Mark, it is obviously very, very difficult here to be too critical of the police, whichever way you view this. But when you see Marco Mera talking us through this, I mean, you're shaking your head there. Do you feel... My instinctive reaction yesterday was, once I knew more about this woman, was, okay, wow, this maybe didn't need to happen. You didn't need to shoot her dead. What is your reaction now we know so much more?
Knowing so much more makes it more complicated, and it makes my heartstrings get tugged a little bit. But the police didn't have the benefit of knowing this woman's history, her background. They didn't even know whether or not she had a gun. So I won't put that burden on the police. What I will say, though, as Marco Mera said, is that there are moments where the police reasonably could have thought their lives were in danger. If at the moment you no longer think your life is in danger, you don't get a chance to shoot. So what I say is we need to investigate this. We need to dig further. I'm not willing to give the police the benefit of the doubt without investigation, but I'm also not willing to say the police did anything wrong just yet. And some of you are saying, and I think Ben may have even said this, that yes, you know, many of us would be afraid. Many of us in that moment may have made the same decision. But we're not trained law enforcement officers. They're trained to have a higher standard, a higher higher level of quality.
Right, let me just wrap this with... wait a second. I just want to show you a bit of footage. This is from an incident in Oregon that happened earlier in the summer. Video's just come out, but the reason I want to show you, this is a guy who's been pulled over for... And his 3 kids are in the back of that car. He gets out. They tell him twice, we want to talk to you about the speeding. He then advances towards them, and he opens fire. Now, he's a military guy. He gets hit himself. His body is found dead in the car a little later. And the reason I'm playing that is that whilst we can criticize the police for what happened yesterday, and many people have done, including me yesterday, when you see that footage, you can understand perhaps in a country swimming with guns that the police are going to be twitchy in this situation. And that's why I played that. So thank you all for joining me. Deb.